In the heart of Baringo, Kenya, a bitter feud between the Kiprop and Ruto families has simmered for decades. The origins of the feud are shrouded in mystery, but the hatred is very much alive. A valuable piece of land was at the center of their dispute, lost to time but not forgotten. Whispers of betrayal and greed fueled the flames of animosity between the families. The tension was palpable, and any spark could ignite a full-blown conflict. Jabil, a cunning and ambitious man, saw an opportunity to exploit the feud. He was a master manipulator with a talent for spreading rumors and fueling hatred. Jabil began to secretly meet with members of both families, whispering lies and half-truths. His words sowed the seeds of distrust, deepening the rift between the Kiprops and Rutos. As tensions escalated, the town of Baringo teetered on the brink of chaos. Small skirmishes began to break out between the two families, each more violent than the last. Homes were set ablaze, crops destroyed, and livestock stolen. Innocent lives were caught in the crossfire, with families mourning their loved ones. Jabil continued to fan the flames, relishing the chaos he had created. He whispered to the Kiprops, "The Rutos will stop at nothing to destroy you." To the Rutos, he said, "The Kiprops will never stop until you're all gone." Distrust turned into outright hatred as the body count rose. The once thriving town of Baringo was now a place of fear and grief. Children grew up learning to hate those on the other side of the feud. Markets were empty, schools closed, and the economy plummeted. King Kiprop and King Ruto, leaders of their respective families, were consumed by the conflict. Both sides were convinced that they could never trust the other. King Kiprop vowed, "We will fight until our last breath to protect our honor." King Ruto declared, "We will not rest until justice is served." The town's elders pleaded for peace, but their voices were drowned out by cries for revenge. Jabil's influence grew as he continued to manipulate both sides. He saw the destruction as a testament to his power and cunning. The violence reached a peak when a tragic incident occurred. A massive fire broke out in the central market, claiming many lives. Both families accused each other of starting the fire. The anger and grief were overwhelming, pushing the town to the brink of total collapse. Jabil, ever the opportunist, spread more lies to further divide the families. "The Rutos will stop at nothing," he told the Kiprops. "You must strike first." To the Rutos, he said, "The Kiprops are planning a final assault. Prepare for war." The once peaceful town was now a war zone, with no end in sight. King Kiprop and King Ruto were both deeply affected by the loss and suffering. They saw their people living in constant fear and misery. Despite their anger, doubts began to creep into their minds. Is this endless fighting worth the cost? King Kiprop wondered. King Ruto thought, how many more lives must be lost? But Jabil was always there, reinforcing their hatred and distrust. The elders of Baringo met in secret, desperate to find a solution. "We must find a way to end this madness," one elder said. Another replied, "But how can we convince the kings to seek peace?" The situation seemed hopeless as the violence continued unabated. One day, an elder approached King Kiprop with a bold idea. "You must consider peace," he urged, "for the sake of our people." King Kiprop was hesitant, but the elder's words stayed with him. Meanwhile, another elder approached King Ruto with the same plea. "Think of our children," she said. "They deserve a future without bloodshed." After many sleepless nights, King Kiprop decided to take a bold step towards peace. He reached out to King Ruto, proposing a meeting to discuss a potential truce. The meeting was tense and awkward, but both sides were determined to find a way forward. The negotiations between the Kyprops and Rutos were long and arduous. Jabil, the master manipulator, was working behind the scenes, whispering in the ears of both parties. He told the Kyprops that the Rutos were trying to cheat them. To the Rutos, he said that the Kyprops were planning to take advantage of them. Both sides were skeptical of each other, making progress difficult. King Kyprop would propose a deal and King Ruto would reject it. King Ruto would propose a deal and King Kyprop would find it unacceptable. Jabil smiled to himself, knowing that his plan was working. Despite Jabil's best efforts, the two kings were determined to find a way forward. They knew that their people were suffering and that something had to be done. They continued to meet, negotiate, and try to find a way to bring peace to their people. After many long and difficult months, they reached a breakthrough. They agreed on a deal that would bring peace and prosperity to both the Kyprops and the Rutos. Jabil was furious, knowing that his plans had been foiled. He tried to stir up trouble, telling each side that the other was not to be trusted, but it was too late. The two kings had seen through his schemes. As they signed the treaty, Jabil was left alone, his plans for chaos and destruction foiled once again. The people of Baringo celebrated, knowing that they had finally found peace. King Kyprop and King Ruto were hailed as heroes, their names etched in history as the ones who had brought peace to their people. The treaty was comprehensive, covering trade, security, and cultural exchange. It established a council of elders made up of members from both families to oversee the implementation of the agreement. The council worked tirelessly, ensuring that the terms of the treaty were being met and that both sides were benefiting from the peace. Trade flourished, security improved, and cultural exchange programs were established. The Kyprops and Rutos began to work together, sharing their knowledge and skills and learning from each other. As they did, they realized that they had more in common than they had initially thought. They were both proud people with a rich history and culture, and they were both determined to build a better future for their children. The peace treaty between the Kyprops and Rutos became a model for other tribes and nations to follow. It showed that even the most bitter of enemies could find a common ground. The people of Baringo began to see the fruits of their labor. Trade routes expanded, bringing wealth and opportunities to the town. Security forces from both families worked together to keep the peace. Cultural exchange programs enriched the lives of the people, fostering mutual respect. However, Jabil was not ready to give up. He plotted his next move in the shadows. He convinced a group of Kyprop loyalists that the treaty was a trick by the Rutos. He told them that the Rutos were planning to use the peace to gain control. These loyalists, fueled by Jabil's lies, began to demonstrate against the treaty. They marched through the town, shouting that they wanted nothing to do with the Rutos. The demonstrations threatened to unravel the fragile peace. King Kyprop addressed the protesters, pleading for calm and patience. King Ruto also spoke to the crowd, assuring them of the Rutos' commitment to peace, but Jabil's influence was strong and many were convinced by his lies. The Council of Elders met to discuss how to address the unrest. They decided to hold a public forum, allowing everyone to voice their concerns. The forum was tense, with many expressing their fears and doubts, but it also provided an opportunity for open dialogue and understanding. King Kyprop and King Ruto answered questions and reassured their people. Slowly, the tension began to ease as people saw the sincerity in their leaders' words. The forum ended with a renewed commitment to the peace process, but Jabil was relentless. he devised a new plan to undermine the treaty. He spread the rumors that the Rutos were secretly arming themselves for an attack. The Kiprop loyalists, already on edge, were quick to believe him. They began to stockpile weapons and prepare for a confrontation. When the Council of Elders learned of this, they were deeply concerned. They urged the King Kiprop to address his people and dispel the rumors. King Kiprop held a town meeting, assuring everyone that the Rutos had no such intentions. King Ruto did the same, opening his armories to show there were no hidden weapons. This transparency helped calm the situation, but the distrust lingered. Chabil, seeing his plan falter, decided to escalate his efforts. He orchestrated a false flag attack, making it appear as though the Rutos had ambushed a Kiprop settlement. The Kiprops were outraged and demanded retribution. King Kiprop, suspecting foul play, asked for a thorough investigation. The investigation revealed evidence of Jabil's involvement in the attack. The Council of Elders confronted Jabil, who denied everything, but the evidence was damning and Jabil was arrested. As he was taken away, he shouted, "This isn't over, you'll see!" The arrest of Jabil brought a sense of relief to the town, but his influence had left a mark and healing the wounds would take time. The Council of Elders focused on rebuilding trust between the families. They organized joint community projects to foster cooperation. One such project was the rebuilding of the central market. Kiprops and Rutos worked side by side, seeing each other in a new light. As the market took shape, so did the bonds of friendship. Cultural festivals were held to celebrate the unity of the town. Traditional dances, music, and food from both families were shared and enjoyed. Children from both sides attended school together, learning about each other's cultures. Educational exchanges were established, promoting mutual respect and understanding. The peace treaty included economic initiatives to benefit both families. Joint ventures in agriculture and trade brought prosperity to the town. As businesses grew, so did the wealth and opportunities for everyone. The success of these ventures showed that cooperation was more beneficial than conflict. With peace came a resurgence of cultural pride and identity. Artists, musicians, and storytellers from both families began to collaborate. Their works celebrated the rich heritage of Baringo, blending traditions in new and exciting ways. The town became known for its vibrant cultural scene, attracting visitors from afar. Tourism flourished, bringing additional revenue and opportunities to the community. The Council of Elders continued to lead with wisdom and fairness. They ensured that the benefits of peace were shared equally among all. Disputes were resolved through dialogue and compromise, not violence. The council also focused on educating the next generation about the value of peace. Schools included lessons on conflict resolution and the history of the feud. Children learned about the mistakes of the past and the importance of unity. The elders knew that keeping the peace required constant vigilance. They maintained open channels of communication with both families. Regular meetings were held to address any emerging issues. These efforts helped prevent misunderstandings and fostered trust. The Kiprops and Rutos began to intermarry, further cementing their bond. Family gatherings became celebrations of unity, not division. The once feuding families now saw themselves as part of a larger, united community. The town of Baringo thrived, a testament to the power of reconciliation. King Kiprop and King Ruto were proud of what their people had achieved. They knew that their decision to pursue peace had been the right one. The treaty remained the cornerstone of their society.